foreign jihadists and government troops have been condemned by UN report, which found them all guilty of war crimes, including civilian massacres and indiscriminate shelling. Meanwhile, international mercenaries and militants continue to flood the country, convinced they're carrying out the will of God. But what forces men to such extremes? RT's Maria Finoshna has been investigating for us.
This may look like an ordinary farewell amongst friends, but the man in the lone Islamic code is a suicide bomber, leaving on his final journey. This is his last conversation with his elder brother, in a car that is supposed to take him to the walls of the central prison in Aleppo, Syria, and then explode, sending him to paradise according to his beliefs. These clips were found on a laptop taken from one of the men seen in the footage, who is now in a Syrian prison. He calls himself Raushan and says he came to Syria from a former Soviet republic to fight.
A group called Murad approached me a year ago and convinced me that Muslims in Syria are being oppressed and killed, and that I should go and take up arms against Assad for world jihad and help establish a caliphate that will extend worldwide to Europe, America, and everywhere.
He sneaked into Syria last January through Turkey. In Istanbul, two men who said they were from Al-Qaeda met him and accompanied him to Syria, where he joined a large bombing brigade run by an Egyptian jihadist.
My job was mainly to prepare bombs for cars. There were many people, all from different countries. Our teachers showed us how to make bombs, which ingredients to use, and how exactly to cook it.
One of his recent assignments was an Aleppo prison bombing last May. The man you saw in the farewell video was driving the car that Raushan prepared. Raushan brought his entire family to Syria, including his 5-year-old son. On this video, the militant shows his boy how to make a bomb. They say after a father dies, the son should continue the jihad.
I don't know what Allah prepared for me, but we have to finish what we started.
Look at this house. Can we open? The prisoners here are mainly charged with either terrorism or spying. This newly built unit can accommodate up to 200 people, and already it's almost full. In the jail's backyard, an officer tells us not to get too close, as the prisoners could be dangerous. There are people here from Syria, Yemen, Iraq, Jordan, Egypt and Palestine, but many came from Europe as well. Algerian with a French passport Amr has spent most of his life in France, where he married a French woman and lived a normal life. That changed after he was recruited by an Islamic group with Al-Qaeda ties, calling for jihad in Syria.
I volunteered. I went to Turkey. In a refugee camp there, I met a Salafi group, and I trained with them for about 2.5 months. And then we illegally crossed the border into Syria.
Amr says, as a Salafi, a fundamental Muslim, he had to get involved.
I saw my Sunni Syrian brothers suffering here. I saw on Al Jazeera, Al Arabiya and other channels that kids are also suffering. I took up arms and I was ready to use them, but when I came here, I didn't see the enemy.
In a separate building, they show us weapons, including handmade bombs and grenades seized from militants. These are the instruments of global jihad that chose Syria as a battlefield to bring foreign fighters and violence. This prison may be full, but beyond the walls, many men with many causes remain free to continue their fight. Marif Noshnati, Damascus, Syria.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر ضرب الفتمان 14 سالفة الجرحى الله أكبر الله أكبر 14 9 في 13 أحد الجرحى بدي أجيب الاشتراكات. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
This, I'm curious from your perspective, and you're a Syrian Christian. When you see what is going on by both sides, it has to be said, in Syria, and you see what is happening to the Christian community there, what goes through your mind?
It's very appalling to see this, to see the massacre of so many innocent people on all sides. Not just the Christian, although they've been targeted by the militant extremist Islamists who are coming from Saudi Arabia to cause havoc in Syria. It's very appalling to sit and watch this, and also not to mention the innocent people who are victimized by this called oppositions, who basically they don't have the welfare of the Syrian people at heart. They just have their own personal agenda, and I think the majority of the Syrian people are fed up. Enough is enough. 100,000 people who lost their life is enough. I think right now we need to sit and talk and negotiate. And also,
I'm curious if you think Assad should go as part of that. I mean, if he turns over chemical weapons, do you think part of the talking should be him stepping down, negotiating some other leadership?
No, listen, I think in 2014 there's an election that's going to take place in Syria. So what we need to do right now, immediate ceasefire to stop both sides from fighting. If the United Nations needs to intervene, I think that would be a great step. Also, we need to stop countries like Saudi Arabia to fund those terrorists who are coming to Syria to cause havoc. I think as soon as we have a good ceasefire in Syria, the people could pay attention to the 2014 election and have candidates. And I think we need representation from all sectors of the Syrian people.
Jumana, thanks so much. Out of time. Jumana Hadid, thanks so much with a very...